Okay. Appreciate your time to present Avanan and look forward to sharing with you what we have to offer. Also appreciate the insight you gave us with regards to how you're currently managing the threat, your background, the different players as part of the team, and the different solutions you're looking at. So what I want to do for the time that we have here is I like to first just give you a little bit of an overview of what we do, how we do it. And then from there, we'll flip it over and get into the demo, which is really where you get to see and visualize how the product actually works. As I said earlier, we got over 1,000 customers worldwide at this point. And I always like to boil down the problem that we've been seeing across our customer base. And really, we categorize it into three key components. First thing is that we've obviously seen an increase in phishing campaigns, and that comes by way of customer anecdotal evidence where they talk about the different phishing attacks that they've seen. It also comes by way of the the different what's in the news that we hear. So phishing campaigns are certainly on the rise, especially with the move to cloud-based email like O365. That's resulted in a number, obviously a drastic increase in BEC, business email compromises, that are ultimately damaging businesses. They're damaging their brand because they have to disclose breaches and things like that. It's damaging businesses because businesses now have to pay out money because of ransomware and extortion and things like that. So the damage is obviously, quantifiable in many cases. In some cases, it's not. But the other thing that we're really seeing a lot, which isn't reported as much, is the increase in workload that's resulted on your IT, and specifically your IT security teams, ones that are responsible for keeping your infrastructure organization secure. They're spending a ton of time managing and dealing with this threat. So these are kind of the problems that we're seeing. This is really, validated by what Verizon's talking about. If you look at their 2019 data breach investigation report, where they went back and looked at, a bunch of breaches that occurred in 2018. They did the analysis on all that across all the industries. And what they found were essentially two things. One is that the number one threat resulting in breach was phishing. Right? The number two was use of stolen credentials, and in large part, cloud email credentials. So if someone gets a hold of your O365 account and uses those, and gets access to your email and OneDrive and SharePoint. So those are the two primary threats resulting in breaches in 2018. And the ironic thing is that this comes at a time when click rates are at the lowest that they've ever been, right? So when you think about click rates, what is a click rate? Click rate is essentially how organizations measure whether or not their users are falling for phishing scams. So they measure click rates by sending out fake phishing emails to the user community in an organization. They then measure who actually opens up the email, the phishing email, and who actually clicks on a link within the email. Click rates are at the lowest they've ever been. They're below 3% now for the first time, but the problem is greater than ever. So what this really is demonstrating is that although, end user training is important, it's not the end all be all. You need an additional level of security. You need additional protections in there. And that's really how we got started, right? That's really where Avanan comes into play. We started in 2015 with the idea that, the concept that email security really needed to be reinvented. And I'll get into this in a little bit, but when email was on-prem, it required a certain kind of solution. And when you move email to the cloud, it requires a different type of solution. And so when we came to the market in 2015, we looked at the landscape and said, well, the current approaches to email security don't work with O365, or they don't work as well. or Gmail, right? So we wanted and felt the need to develop a different solution. And this solution is built for the cloud. It's in the cloud, right? And it leverages, for the most part, the APIs that come with these cloud-based applications. That's the heart of what we do. And this API approach, this new approach, gives us the ability to prevent the most advanced attacks that are missed by Microsoft and G Suite as well. So in terms of the architecture, I spent some time talking about how we differ from your traditional, yesterday's approach to email security. Let's first start talking about that, right? What is yesterday's approach? And yesterday's approach made sense when email was on-prem. You had an on-prem Exchange server. You wanted to secure the emails coming into that server. The way you did that was by taking a secure email gateway, is what Gartner calls it. Some people refer to it as an MTA. You route all email traffic through that MTA. If it's clean, it would let it go into your on-prem Exchange server. It made perfect sense, right? But when email moved to the cloud, it changed things considerably, right? So this approach is sticking, yesterday's technology in front of today's new innovations like O365 don't make sense because, for one, this sits out here in front of the cloud. That SAG or that MTA sits in front of O365, in front of Gmail. It's got zero visibility in what's actually going on within the cloud, right? So that's a really important point, that things like compromised accounts, for example, if someone from Nigeria gets a hold of one of your users' credentials and they log into your account in Nigeria, this SAG has zero visibility into what's going on there. So that's one thing. The second thing that's really important is, if you notice, where does this guy sit? He sits in front of your other layers of security. Remember when O365 came to the market, they come with a default security, EOP, Exchange Online Protection, right? So there's additional security that Microsoft provides, right? So this is in front of that, right? What we came to the market and says, well, hold on, there's already this layer of security right there. Let's leverage it. Let's build upon it. So with the Avanan approach, what we did is we leveraged those APIs to connect into your cloud environment, to hook into O365. We're integrated within the cloud, and we're actually sitting behind these other layers of security, right? So because we're sitting behind Microsoft, because we're sitting behind EOP and ATP, and even in many cases your SEGs, our AI, our artificial intelligence, our machine-based learning algorithms are focused on the things that your other layers miss. We're not focused on every attack under the sun. We're focused on only those things those other layers of security miss. And so that's another benefit to being where we're deployed, is that we are sitting behind those existing layers. The other thing about the API approach that gives us an advantage, things like internal to internal email attacks. We've got pure visibility into that. We extend email to OneDrive, or extend security to OneDrive and SharePoint. So these APIs give us a lot of other hooks, a lot of other capabilities. Plus, by the way, it takes minutes to get this set up and running. Everything I talk about today is literally 5 minutes to deploy. Now, this new approach that we came to market with in 2015, when we came to the market, people thought, well, why are you reinventing email? It's already been invented. It's been there, done that. Proofpoint, Mimecast have already got a solution in place. At the time we said, no, absolutely not, because it requires a new approach. Gartner is now recognizing that, hey, look, email in the cloud does require a different approach. We've been doing this longer than anyone else when it comes to securing cloud-based email. It says validated by Gartner, and in fact, it's validated by Gartner's customers as well. I'm proud to say that we were a 2019 Peer Insights Customer's Choice for Email Security. That means of all the security vendors out there, we're one of the few that got this distinction, right? And for us to have come such a long way in such a short amount of time and be on top of this list, I think says quite a bit about who we are as a company and where we're going and our vision, that it was the right approach, that we did place the right bets. Anyone can go online and look at all those reviews. We've got a ton of reviews. These are our customers' words, right? That are raving about us and saying good things about us. They're talking about who else they looked at, what other vendors they looked at, whether it be Proofpoint or Mimecast, even ATP. For the most part, 85% of our customers that have either tried us out or deployed us also had ATP at one point, right? And they made the move just because ATP wasn't delivering the results. And so all those reviews, all those quotes are available online. I'd be happy to send you the link after this overview and demonstration where you can look for yourself. These are just some of the great quotes that we've got up there. In terms of the trial process, I always say, look, we have a great story. It's been validated by Gartner. It's been validated by our customers. But we always want people to see it for themselves. We want people to understand, the value in their own environment. And that's one of the great things about, being API-based is this trial process. In 5 minutes, we can stand up a trial with you guys and give you the ability to see all the things we caught that your existing security layers missed. Right, so no matter what you got enabled, we're going to give you an overview and insight into those additional layers, those misses by those other layers of security. So in 5 minutes, we'll connect your Avanan account to your cloud app, whether it be O365 or G Suite. We'll start doing things like reporting on how many emails contain malware, how many emails were phishing, how many anomaly events. An anomaly event is, for example, someone logging in from Nigeria 10 minutes after logging in from the United States. Right, that's an anomalous event, not possible. We're going to look at things like shadow IT, who's using what cloud applications you may not know about. This is all part of our trial process, and all this data populates automatically. And you can, with our dashboard, as part of the trial process, you'll be able to drill down into the results. So you got 10,000 phishing attacks. Well, let's drill down into them. Let's get into great detail and understand what do those phishing attacks look like. We can tell you things like, hey, here's a phishing attack we caught. It was sent from this individual, went to this individual. Here's a subject. Give you the ability to pull header information. We can give you the ability to get the metadata about that device, even look at the actual content of the email itself, all without having to do PowerShell scripting, right? All there at your fingertips, going from that high level down to the details I'm at, takes one click, right? And then you can actually go, why did we actually detect this? What was it about this email that was so suspicious? So you look at what our AI or machine-based learning is telling us. We've never seen an email from this individual before. Not a lot of history. Linked to a low-traffic website. We're actually looking at hundreds of indicators about every email that comes in, and then we have a score associated with that. And Chris will talk more about that in the demo. But again, this is all part of the trial process that comes with the product, so you can see for yourself. One of the other nice things about our trial is the reporting. The question you asked, hey, what do we catch at ATP or EOP misses? It's all right here as part of our dashboard. So one of our weekly reports that comes out shows you all the attacks that we caught during the week. And you can see here the number of each attack is indicated in red that we caught. The yellow indicates what Microsoft caught, right? So the gap between those two is the additional value that we're adding to your environment. So very user-friendly information and gives you, in plain English, the value that we bring to the table. So with that, I want to go ahead and transition over to the demo. We've got a great demo. It really, speaks volumes, kind of reemphasizes some of the things I talk about. But, I think from your own eyes, being able to see, one, how do we get started? How easy is it to set up? I think that's a really important piece because, again, the trial is, proves the value and it's quick and easy to set up. The other piece we really want to get into is those layers of protection. How are we adding additional security, right? Again, our focus is on the things that Microsoft or G Suite misses, right? We're really focused on those hard to detect attacks, so we'll get into detail on how we're doing that. And then from a threat management perspective, what are the resources and tools and capabilities that we're giving you that's going to make your lives as a security operations team better, right? How are we going to make you more efficient? So with that, I'll go ahead and turn it over to Chris, and we'll get into the demo.